F1 Manager 24 grid changes every race. This is the 2024 Singapore Grand Prix, round number 11 for this season. Of course, we are Williams. Our drivers are Logan Sargent and Max Verstappen. Let's look at everybody else. Carlos Sainz back at McLaren once again. George Russell back at Mercedes. Lewis Hamilton at Aston Martin. Lando Norris at Haas. Fernando Alonso in Sauber. Daniel Ricciardo at RB. Pierre Gasly also at RB. Max Verstappen, like I said, at Williams with us. Valtteri Bottas at Alpine. Kevin Magnussen at Ferrari. Then we go to Yuki Tsunoda at Alpine. Esteban Ocon at Ferrari. Oscar Piastri back at McLaren. Alexander Albon at Red Bull. Charles Leclerc at Red Bull. Lance Stroll back at Aston Martin. Nico Hülkenberg at Mercedes. Sergio Perez at Sauber. Zhou Guanyu at Haas, and then of course Logan Sargent back at Williams with my team. So before we're going to do some upgrades and stuff here, but I'm not really going to talk through that much at the moment. First of all, I'm going to say sorry for the slight lack of videos lately, and the fact that we've got two F1 Manager videos in a row instead of an F1 24 video. Main reason behind that, one, I had an issue when doing the most recent race. Basically, when I get to it, qualifying is not going to show up. We're not going to have a thing for qualifying because it messed up a bit. And yeah, my recording didn't save. And also, I had an issue with my wheel, and I've actually gone out and bought a brand new wheel. I've now got a Moser R5, so it might be a little bit different to get used to that compared to my other wheel, but we'll have a look now. Just quickly looking at here, Williams, budget 1.9 million. That's how much money we have left. Cost cap spent is 97 million. We look at Haas, they are minus 1.3 million, and they've spent 124 million, almost 125 million in the cost cap. Alpine, they only have 4.5 grand left in the bank. They've spent about the same as Haas, just a little bit less. There's something interesting going on here that I didn't really notice. Sauber, they are almost minus a million and have spent 122 million. I've been trying not to go in the minuses with my money, but I think that's stuffing me over a little bit, because all the other kind of lower down teams are in the minuses, or at least very low on money. So I think we're going to have to start changing the way we upgrade our car. We're going to have to start, pretty much depleting all our money to have any chance of anything, really. I completely forgot to put the R&D graph, but basically nothing had changed anyway. Bottas crashes in Q1. And we'll have a look at the replay here. He's here in the Alpine. Of course, the Alpine, not a very good car. And he just does not turn enough understeers into the wall. And that is Bottas out of qualifying in Q1. Likelihood of an Alpine getting through to Q2, not particularly great anyway. But for Bottas, it is even worse for him. He is out there without even setting a time. As we come to the end of Q1, both drivers of mine, Sargent and Verstappen, are currently sitting in P14 and 15, so they are currently getting through to Q2. Sargent actually slightly ahead of Verstappen on the first run. I don't know what that's about. Either Sargent put in the lap of his life, or Verstappen didn't have a very good one. But in the end, Sargent does end up getting knocked out, P16, so it's not terrible for him. Verstappen does get through. Leclerc goes quickest in Q1 in the Red Bull. And Verstappen ends up P13. But you can see there a little red exclamation kind of point next to his name. He's got a grid penalty for some reason. I don't know why. This happened with Piastri last time as well. They have penalties. I don't know why. I haven't changed components or anything. I haven't gone out of allocation of components, so I don't know what these penalties are for, but it does look like Verstappen will have a penalty. And in Q2 here, as we watch this lap, Verstappen is currently P15. He didn't have a very good lap. He's 2 seconds off the pace. He's definitely not that far back. Both Haas, which Haas is still our main rival at the moment for this championship. Norris is sitting in P10 currently, and Zhou is sitting in P12. So at this current point in time, one of the Haases is getting through to Q3, which is not great for us, although Piastri and the McLaren's behind. Gasly, the RBs seem pretty quick, so I'd hope Gasly can get through into Q3 and push Norris out. Also, Stroll's there as well, but never seem to know what happens with Stroll, even if he is in an Aston Martin, which, yeah, not necessarily should get through to Q3, but should be higher up than P14 at least. Verstappen here, he went quicker through the first sector, but it's then yellow through the second sector, so Not looking like the perfect lap for Verstappen. It's not going to be enough to get through to Q3. That is why you're seeing the entire lap here. But we'll see what lap time this is. It might be an improvement if we improve in the final sector, and depending how down we were in that second sector as Verstappen crosses the line. I don't know if it was green or not. He does go quicker though by about 0.3 of a second up to P. In the end, it ends up being P14, P15. Both Hasses are out though in P13 and 14 though, so that is good for us at least. But Verstappen has a penalty, so he's going to be starting even lower than P15. In the end, after Q3, it is a Red Bull 1-2. Charles Leclerc on pole position. He's going to be looking for a win. He hasn't had the greatest luck this season, so now he's finally in a very good team. Once again, an Albon there alongside him on the front row in the Red Bull. So let's see what happens in this Singapore Grand Prix in 2024.
The anticipation is really building here. The fans in attendance are absolutely buzzing with excitement.
The walls around Singapore force the cars close together, and even the best can waver in the tight spaces. Back in 2011, we saw Lewis Hamilton clip Felipe Massa as the two battled it out. There were certainly some words exchanged after that one, as I'm sure you recall.
Singapore streets are a constant challenge for drivers, where one lapse in concentration can easily see them hit the wall. Downforce is the name of the game here, and teams will need to add as much as possible to gain an advantage. Race day has arrived, and the time has almost come for these drivers to fight it out, wheel to wheel.
Right, so it's P18 for Verstappen. It's a 3-place grid penalty, so that's not great for our chances here. So that's not amazing. Looking at the strategy, it looks like it's going to be wet in the mid part of this race, kind of a little bit close to the beginning. So softs, then inters, then hard is looking like the starting compounds for this race. So let's see how we go. 15th and 18th for our drivers for the Singapore Grand Prix.
Well then, it's not long until we get started here, and we should be in for a tightly contested race. And the cameras now shift to Sergio Perez, concentrating on the race ahead.
For P17, you know, they could try and be clever here, and then who knows what they could manage.
So let's see what today has in store, shall we? We're just moments away from the Singapore Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
Here we go, getting underway here at the front row. We have a little look. Looks like Sainz had a good start, actually. He's already alongside Alexander Albon through turn 1. Leclerc has managed to keep the lead, but it is Albon in the other Red Bull having to defend from championship leader Carlos Sainz. He's been kind of going between Williams and McLaren, just the way things have worked out these last couple of races, and that may continue for quite some time with him a fair way on top in the championship, and with Sargent still down the bottom and unlikely to score points at this time around. It looks like though Albon has managed to stay ahead of Sainz through these first couple of corners, and now we'll try and maybe put a move on his teammate Verstappen in P18. Unfortunately, Sargent has lost a position off the start, and then Verstappen's gone into the wall. What has happened here? Lap 1, and Max Verstappen from P18 has just clipped the wall. Looks like not too much damage there, and he will keep on going, but he's gonna need a new front wing. Thankfully, I bought some new front wings, made some new front wings for this weekend, because last time out we had the issue with Piastri. He literally had to retire from the race because we didn't have enough front wings of that type. But now thankfully we do, and Verstappen has had to come in for a pit stop on lap number 1, and he is now way back, almost 30 seconds back in P20. And then all of a sudden we have a yellow flag in sector 1. What's happened here? There's a crash involving multiple cars. We're looking at Esteban Ocon here up in P6. He's going for a move on, I believe that's Nico Hülkenberg, and there's just a little bit of contact through, well, I guess that's turn 2 there, as Hülkenberg kind of turns in a little bit on Ocon. It looked like a little bit of perhaps front wing damage for Ocon, but we'll have to see if that affects him, because it didn't look terrible. Wasn't anything too noticeable from the pictures. Now the two Red Bulls have already gapped Sainz by 3 seconds and now are about to start fighting as Albon is going for a move on Leclerc. These guys not on the same tyres. Leclerc opting to start on the mediums. Most other drivers, including his teammate Albon, starting on the softs here because the rain is supposed to be coming fairly soon. So we should be able to go from the softs straight to the inters if that rain comes quickly enough. And for Leclerc, that may be costly because on lap number 6, Albon gets past his teammate. Now we have a look at Yuki Tsunoda behind our driver of Logan Sargent, trying to go for a move into this corner off the DRS zone into the left-hander, and Tsunoda up to, I guess that's P17. And that's not great for our driver being overtaken by an Alpine, which is definitely a slower car than us. Next up, we have another slower car than us, Sergio Perez, also getting past Logan Sargent. I do not like having Sargent on my team. I will be honest, he's last in the championship. He just doesn't have the pace in the car, and his tyre wear is really terrible as well. Yeah, very unfortunate. We're going to come in early with Verstappen for the inters. The rain has just about started. We are the first ones in for the inters, but I thought we might as well take the gamble with Verstappen being so far back. And then a lap or two later, we're going to take the move with Sargent, as well as a few other drivers have also come in. But Sargent at the moment is the only driver in the race for us because Verstappen is so far back. Now we've got Sargent on the back of Bottas right now, but actually Bottas is going for a move on Perez just up ahead. It is Alpine versus Sauber, the two worst cars on the grid, the two teams, the only two teams that haven't scored a point yet in this season, as Bottas gets past Perez. So he'll be happy about that, but of course no points at that point in time. Hulkenberg now currently in P10 has Ricciardo, the car ahead of him, fallen behind him. He was further up the road earlier on, but has fallen behind, I guess, with the pit stops or something. But Hulkenberg will get past quite easily on Ricciardo and up now into P9. And then a few laps later, there's now a VSC, and it's Logan Sargent. Are you kidding me? He's crashed again. Logan Sargent, I mean, that guarantees that we're going to have Carlos Sainz then. We are going to have Carlos Sainz back in our car again for next round. So all I can hope is that next round, Sargent will be in a McLaren. Please score some points, Sargent. Don't be last in the championship after the next round, because I don't want you back in the team. You seem to just always crash. It's why he got, you know, taken out of the sport in real life. And then Verstappen, once again, he's come in for now the hard compound tyres, once again under the VSC, going for a bit of a gamble, getting in early because of the position we're in, but it's a long pit stop, and we are now 45 seconds behind the next car. The two Red Bulls are still battling it out on track, both on the inters now, so it's a bit more of a fair fight, and Leclerc gets back past Albon again, so it's still a fight. These guys are 23.5 seconds ahead of Sainz in third place, and actually Leclerc starts gapping him after this point, after they go onto the dry tyres. He's now 5.5 seconds ahead. Hulkenberg and Stroll now battling it out. Hulkenberg gets past Stroll. Now we have Oscar Piastri, who's not doing the best job in the McLaren here. He's only just inside the top 10, currently in P9, trying to get ahead of Stroll for P8. He gets past around that corner, but Stroll might try and come back into the next corner, and whoever's going to be ahead will not have the DRS. It looks like Stroll might be the one ahead, or they both have DRS though, off Hulkenberg ahead. So it's going to be a drag race down to the next left-hander. Piastri's got an inch ahead at the moment. Stroll tries cutting to the inside but doesn't manage to do it. So Piastri's now up to P8, and he's now finally starting to show a bit more pace in that McLaren as he now goes up the inside of Hulkenberg in the Mercedes to get a good move there up to P7. So it's a decent recovery from Piastri, but still nowhere near where his teammate is. There's another yellow flag, another virtual safety car later on in the race, and that's because of Zhou Guanyu in the Haas. That's good for us, a Haas being out of this race. He wasn't in the points anyway. He wasn't looking at really scoring any points, but as much as it's not nice to see drivers crash, and it's a pretty big crash from Zhou there into one wall, bounces then into the next wall as well. Although it is, you know, not great to see drivers crash out, having having a Haas out of the race, it means it is just 1v1 for us and Haas now, although neither of us are really looking at scoring points, although Norris is pretty close. He's on the back of that of Ricciardo in 10th with a couple of other cars ahead of him. Verstappen's going to come in for another pit stop onto mediums because, well, we weren't going to get to the end on those high compound tyres. I mean, we're not scoring points for Verstappen now, so we've just got to try and at least get to the end. The two Mercedes are now going to battle it out. All of a sudden, Hulkenberg's caught up to Russell. I don't really know how that's happened. He was quite a way back. Russell manages to stay ahead at that point though. Now the two RBs are next to each other. It is Gasly ahead of Ricciardo, but Ricciardo's going to dive up the inside into turn 1. Late braking moves for Daniel Ricciardo, just what he was always known for, and he gets back ahead of his teammate again up to P10. There's another yellow flag. Now, how many yellow flags do we want to have in this race? I think it's Tsunoda. I see him tumbling down the order. Yes, it is. Crash on turn 13 for Yuki Tsunoda. Let's have a look at this. He goes round here through under the bridge, round to the hairpin, and just doesn't stop. And then he just drives into the barrier. That is the most slow, stupid crash I've ever seen in this game. But I don't think he's out. I think he can still carry on, but yeah, he's now even behind Verstappen, and Verstappen's starting to make moves. He's now caught up to the back of these next cars. He's managed to now get past one of the Alpines. So up into P16 for Max Verstappen. It's not going to be points, but maybe he can get a couple of positions on these last couple of laps. And as the leaders head onto the final lap, we're about to get onto the final lap, I believe, or the second to last lap. I think we've been lapped at this point. Verstappen dives up the inside of Sergio Perez.
Takes first place.
And you can hear just how happy the crowd are for them too. They're on their feet.
Great work for Charles Leclerc. He gets a win, his first win of the season.
Out and onto the podium steps Charles Leclerc, the driver from Monaco, really deserving of that top 3 spot.
Their first win of the season, and the team looking on will be very proud, I'm sure.
And you've got to think that Singapore will be buzzing now for many hours to come.
Awesome work for Charles Leclerc, getting his first win of the season. He's had a pretty poor time of it the last few races, just not really been in the best cars. He's not had the most luck with good cars, apart from, you know, Ferrari right at the start. He hasn't had the best cars this season, but finally got on a Red Bull and converted it to a win by 10.5 seconds to his teammate in second. Carlos Sainz, the ever-consistent P3, picking up 15 points. The championship leader is still going to extend his lead in the championship. And yeah, Max Verstappen ended up P15, so I think, you know, overtaking technically 3 cars, but one of them, Tsunoda, had a bit of an issue, but we overtook Bottas and Perez legitimately. Like I said, Sainz still leads the championship. How many points? 84, 94, 04, 14, 24. He's 44 points ahead of George Russell in the championship. He is way ahead in this championship, Carlos Sainz. He's looking very good for taking this championship unless things go very wrong. And Logan Sargent is still in last place, level on points with Zhou Guanyu though. So please, Sargent, can you please just score some points next round? Zhou, maybe don't score some points, so that we at least don't have Sargent for the next race after that, because I don't want him anymore. And in the Constructors, Red Bull still convincingly out in front, but they're in P7 still. We are 2 points still ahead of Haas, 10 points to 8. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.